Yeah, we're
We're not-
brothers had.
We're not allowed to use those words here in the air.
Yeah, they're listening.
Oh, yeah, they are now.
Yes. Folks, Wednesday night, Walnut Grove Bible study.
Creek,
Huh?
Creek. Walnut Creek.
Walnut Creek. I don't know where I got Grove. Well, Walnut Creek.
We're working on it.
Yes, yes, yes. But anyway, we're in Proverbs
12.
12. So grab your Bibles, take a deep seat, and enjoy it, and welcome you newcomers and you newcomers across the pond. Whoop, whoop. There we go.
I don't even know how you guys been doing this stuff.
You need to be in there a little bit more. All we get some glimpse of the hand or the Bible or something.
I'm scooting over. Nobody wanted to just see this.
Well,
Yeah.
Mike, I got the same thing back
Yeah,
there.
but you're not right under the camera.
It's a good thing it did glare.
Yeah. Yeah,
Exactly. They're
like, I
like,
can't see nothing.
Yeah.
So I gotta put that hat back on. All right, let's pray. Dear gracious Heavenly Father, thank you for allowing us to come here tonight to study your word. I hope someone here or someone online learned something from you from this study. I ask in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Proverbs 12. Whosoever loveth instruction loveth knowledge, but he that hateth reproof is rueth. A good man attaineth favor of the Lord, but a man of wicked devices he will condemn. A man shall not be established by wickedness, but the root of the righteousness shall not be moved. A virtuous woman is a crown to her husband, but she that maketh ashamed is his rottenness in his bones. Anybody else want to take over?
the thought of the righteous are right, but the counsel of the wicked are deceitful. The words of the wicked lie in wait for blood, but the mouth of the upright will deliver them. The wicked are overthrown and are no more, but the house of the righteous will stand. A man will be condemned according to his wisdom, but he who is of perverse heart will be despised. Better is the one who is slighted but has a servant than he who honors himself but lacks bread. A righteous man regards the life of his animal, but the tender mercies of the wicked are cruel. He who tills his land will be satisfied with bread, but he who follows frivolity is devoid of understanding.
There we go. The wicked desire the plunder of evil men, but the root of righteousness flourishes. An evil man is trapped by his sinful talk, but a righteous man escapes trouble. From the fruit of the lips, a man is filled with good things, as surely as work from his hands rewards him.
Is that 14?
Yeah, it was 14.
The way of the fool is that why it made me start at 15? Because that's the way of the fool. The way of the fool is right in his own eyes, but he that hearkeneth unto counsel is wise. A fool's wrath is presently known, but a prudent man crieth shame, covereth shame. He that speaketh truth showeth forth righteousness, but a false witness deceit. There is that speaketh like the piercings of a sword, but the tongue of the wise is health. The lips of the truth shall be established forever, but a lying tongue is but for a moment. Deceit is in the heart of them that imagine evil, but to the counselors of peace is joy. There shall no evil happen to there should be no evil happen to the just, but the wicked shall be filled with mischief. Lying lips are abomination to the Lord, but they that deal truly are his delight. A prudent man concealeth knowledge, but the heart of the fools proclaimeth foolishness. The hand of the diligent shall bear rule, but the slothful shall be under tribute. Heaviness is the heart of a man, maketh it stoop. Excuse me. Heaviness is the heart of a man, maketh it stoop, but good word maketh it glad. The righteous is more excellent than the neighbor, but the way of the wicked seduces them. The slothful man for my eyes are working properly. The slothful man roasteth that which he took in hunting, but the substance of a diligent man is precious. In the ways of righteousness is life, but in the pathway thereof there is no death.
Well, I'm gonna look at verse 1 for just a second, just because of the difference in translations.
Whosoever loveth instruction loveth knowledge, but he that hateth reproof is flourish.
Okay, this is how the NIV puts it.
Brutish.
Brutish, thank
Yes,
you.
I've got that in the King James over mine, says the same thing there, but whoever loves discipline loves knowledge, but he who hates correction is stupid.
That's what brutish means.
A
The
dumb brute.
NIV just says he who hates correction is stupid.
Well, I gotta throw this
They're
out there.
saying that essentially the same thing, just that we tend to take the word stupid a little bit different.
Yeah,
Well, you know what the difference between ignorant and stupid, right? Ignorant means don't know no better. Stupid means you know better and you still do it.
I always kind of said that on the job. I can fix ignorance. Stupid, I can't fix.
They don't make a big enough hammer for that.
No.
Stupid is to the bone.
Well, just the difference between the word brutish and then just telling somebody they're just flat stupid.
I've done that. Told them that.
Yeah, but here's the thing though, if I tell someone they're being brutish, they ain't gonna know what I'm saying.
Yeah, they might not even know what you mean.
You Neanderthal.
Oh, God.
Well, but what the problem with a lot of people in the world that refuses to come to God is they don't want to be corrected. They're right on everything. They have to be right on everything because they said so. And it's an attitude of the heart and the mind, that they're always right, no matter whether they're right or not.
Right.
And when somebody comes up and says, well, that wasn't the smartest thing you ever did or whatever, well, there wasn't nothing wrong with that. That was somebody else's fault. They'll weasel out of it somehow.
Pride in a lot of the sins that we commit or a lot of people commit. If you just, like I keep saying, if you scratch, just barely below the surface, pride is usually involved.
That's a lot of it. Pride.
Yeah, right. And anyhow, what Don just said, whenever it comes to that, whenever you become so prideful, now they're like what we do, let's say, taking our terms biblically, when we stand on a biblical knowledge or basis, we know that we're right. And let's say someone else is wrong. That kind of swells your head up a little bit, but it's whenever you get up so high on your pride level that you just start looking down on everybody too.
Yeah, there's an arrogance that shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Sometimes we need to realize we don't know everything.
I can tell you right now, I don't.
Me neither.
I'm still learning.
I can tell you right now, the older I get, the dumber I get.
Yeah.
Or maybe I'm just
So much dumber is just,
starting to realize you wasn't that smart to begin with.
You know, you've done it, repeat, and pretty soon.
You're in the process of fixing the ignorance that you didn't know any better earlier.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Then you find out the questions have changed.
Yeah.
That's always, when I was always running a crew or something. Someone would pull a dumb one. And I just tell them, it's a learning curve. What'd you learn? You know,
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't insult him or nothing, but what did you learn? It's a learning curve.
Usually, I honestly believe that some of the trials or some of the things that we get thrown into in life, and half of it's from our own stupid choices or mistakes. But anyhow, whenever, what's for them?
It ain't so much stupid, it's just you didn't know for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I call it a learning curve.
Uh,
You should have asked if you didn't know, but
right.
there again, there's sort of pride steps in that. I don't want to show them I'm stupid, you know, so you go ahead and do it and it blows up.
One of the last jobs we were on, the homeowner was helping do some things because with everything going on, we weren't getting to it as fast as we really should have been. But anyway, he wired a couple outlets and he made some rookie mistakes. And it, for that one room at least, cost me more time troubleshooting the problem than it would have if I'd put them all in to begin with.
Yeah.
And he was apologizing for it. I'm going, I don't mind chasing a problem as long as you learn from
Yes.
it. Is because I like the idea that he's wanting to learn and do for himself as much as possible. I certainly didn't mind the help,
Yeah, yeah.
but when you're training new help, you got to expect some problems here and there.
That's right.
And
That's what I always told them to ask. Come and see me first.
well,
We'll see
it wasn't
him.
what he did wrong wasn't so much actual in the wiring, it was in the way of folding the wires back in the box and stripping the wire to begin with. There's a tough type of insulation, UF. And there's an easy way to strip it, and there's a near impossible way to strip it. And the near impossible seems to be the most intuitive.
Yeah.
And he did it that way and nicked the insulation when he was trying to strip it off. Nicked the inner insulation when he was trying to strip the tough outer insulation off. And then when it folded back in, it shorted out. Well, that is a matter of learning that there is an easier way to do that. And just learning how to fold the wires, and that's practice.
Yeah.
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 A lot of people think, oh, I'll cut it's going to be a lot of wires and I'm going to cut it short. No. Give me double the slack on it. When there's going to be a bunch of wires, give me double what you put in a normal box. Because I'm going to fold each wire back into its place. And it's going, if all goes well, it's going to look like an accordion closing when I put that outlet back in there, and it'll fit a whole lot easier.
Prevent. Well, I'm looking at number 3 here. I know I jumped over 2, but a man cannot be established through wickedness, neither can a nation.
No,
No.
absolutely.
And that's what a lot of what we're dealing with within the church, and not trying to get into specific of things here, but you can't establish things through wickedness. You might win. I didn't say they didn't win occasionally, but in the long run, it's going to crumble.
Oh, yeah. It's gonna bite you in the butt.
Absolutely. But no, and if you're living in sin, God ain't gonna bless it anyway. That's just fact of life. I do like number 4. Virtuous woman is a crown to her husband, but she that maketh ashamed is his rottenness in his bones. there's a popular phrase going around right now. Try and find you a Proverbs 31:10 woman. You actually read it, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Do what?
It's a deal for single guys. It says you need to find a Proverbs 31:10
Oh.
woman. For your wife.
10 plus through the
Yeah, 10 plus, but
several verses, but yeah, a wife of noble character who can find.
yep.
Yes. And so
Which in today's world is very difficult.
there'll be men, but one woman out of 1,000 or something like that.
If that.
That's
Try
well, that's
one.
what it says in the proverb.
Mhm.
I believe that's what it says.
Sounds like easier pickings back then.
Well, not really. Ain't no different back then than it is today,
Yeah, true.
you know? When you quit looking, usually that's when they come around. When you look real hard, I don't know, because you mess up or whatever, they're hard to find. But if you put it in God's hands, he'll take care of it.
Yeah, yeah. Any other verses that just kind of stick out to you guys?
I'm gonna go with 5. I'm not getting very far, but the plans of the righteous are just. I mean, we are to make plans that are good, not only for us, but for those around us, for our community. And that includes things like the revival we just did and just other things, the fourth Sunday. There's just a lot of things in there that the plans are good, they're just. The idea we want to look out for one another, we want our laws to be applied equally, you know, just different things. But the advice of the wicked is deceitful and boy, that goes a long way.
Yeah,
Right now.
look at DC.
I spent too much time
We
looking at
get
some of the
kicked off every
headlines on
church
this.
Saturday. Can we at least not let this one get
Oh.
annihilated?
I couldn't help it.
Welcome to kicked off the internet club.
It's okay.
I'm trying to stay pretty docile.
Well, you're
here.
talking DC Comics though, right?
Yes,
Those are nothing but characters anyway.
yes.
Fictional.
The comic book.
What's next, Marvel?
I didn't put any names that we would recognize, but I could have.
Yeah, real easy.
Hey, remember, I'm tied in with the Methodist and the Baptist church too, so it ain't just this one that gets kicked off.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm already a part of the club.
Yep.
Yeah. The words of the wicked are to lie in wait for blood, but the mouth of the upright shall deliver them. Lie in wait for blood.
Yeah. Beast.
Mm-hmm.
How true that is.
Very.
Well, the idea is that the wicked curse and we're supposed to bless.
Sometimes it's hard to do.
I didn't say it was
Extremely.
easy and didn't say I always did it
Most of the
right.
time.
Yeah.
Wicked are overthrown and are not, but the house of the righteous shall stand. So the wicked, not that we're talking about any government or anything, we'll just use a government as an example.
Mhm.
If the government, if the government's wicked,
Even the nation, you won't
but
stand.
the house of the righteous shall stand.
Yeah, I think Jesus used that when he was talking about the house built on the rock and the house built on the sand, wasn't he?
Yes.
You just took the words right out of my
Oh,
mouth.
okay, sorry about that.
You're
You,
fine.
you explain it then.
Stop taking his words.
Now,
I didn't know I was doing it.
am I gonna have to do to you like what he, like what my,
Not yet.
Anybody got any wire?
silence is golden, but duct tape is silver.
it's not right after that verse, but I think it certainly goes along with that verse. Well, 24, the hand of the diligent will rule, but the lazy man will be put to forced labor. Is that, to me, that sounds like a very good description of,
Socialism.
well, the difference in between
Just had to say it.
a more capitalistic and a socialistic society, because a socialism, eventually the government's going to tell you what you have to do and how much of it you have to do
Mhm.
and when you have to do it, because they're going to plug the holes where it needs to be. You're not going to get a choice no more.
Well, it's about like, if you start up, I'm gonna like this one, go back to Genesis. You gotta plow, where it says you gotta plow the land by the sweat of your brow. And I can't remember where else it says, if you don't work, you don't eat.
Yeah.
Well, it says it a great many ways throughout what we just read.
Yeah. So,
Well, it says in the New Testament quite clear. Paul says if a man, it's in Thessalonians, forget where it's first or second, it's in Thessalonians, because the few had got to the point because of the persecution, they thought the rapture would happen at any time, more or less. I'm kind of reading in there, but that's kind of the idea I get. And so they were just waiting for that to happen because they were sure that they were going to be raptured, and they were just sponging off everybody else. And Paul said, you don't work, you don't eat, you go out here, you keep on going till you're gone. Whenever it happens, you keep on going till you're gone, one way or the other. And that's the idea.
well,
It's in there, so you're right.
well, and also it stated if you, I can't remember, I'm gonna have to paraphrase because I can't remember the scripture, but if you do not do your job as, let's say, a husband, providing for the wife and the kids, it states it's worse than being an unbeliever.
Yeah, you don't provide for your own family. Amen. And
So-
that was pretty much head on.
Well, you was raised that way, Don. I was raised that way. The husband provides, the wife stays at home and takes care of the house and the kids.
Sad part about that is nowadays with the way society and the cost of living, they
It's
pretty much,
cost of living, and here's where I blame the government. They fixed it up now, and where mom and dad got to work
Mhm.
just to make a living, ain't a decent living, just to make a living.
they made it, I hate to say it, they made it, and I think they done it on purpose to where you
Yes.
can't afford to have kids. Have you seen the cost of daycare nowadays?
Well, that
Like
fixed,
400
Most of
something.
these crappy, and I say this once again, with love, crappy states that are just falling into the pooper. A few years ago, they passed their minimum wage from like $7 to $15.
Yeah, and stop and think, $15 an hour is, to me, it sounds like a
all the
It's
a
money.
lot of money,
Yeah.
but what the groceries cost and your rent, utilities, you take that times 40, that's 600 a month, gross, or a week, gross. Then you take the taxes to be about 525.
That's what I'm getting at. What they did is these, and I'm sorry, idiots who voted for that didn't realize all the man's gonna do is just, I'm still gonna get my same number. I'm just gonna, they started doing that. Forgot
It just
that.
makes your bank
What was that
account look
dude's
more
name?
impressive as you zero it out. That's all it
What was
does.
that guy's name? Oh, yeah, Obama. When Obama said, when he passed all that nonsense, all they did is just change everything.
Yeah.
And from that day forward, you start seeing McDonald's with their own little touch screens. You know, there in Fort Scott, you walk into the gas station, there's somebody behind the register, but the register ain't open. They're like, you can use the self-checkout. I'm like, I don't work here.
Oh, even at Walmart,
Yeah,
yeah.
Walmart's a
Well, a couple of things the government's done to go along with, in addition to, and all the
wonderful
things you
healthcare
want to
system
go
they
with,
they try to pass.
is that if you need some help and you get on any type of government assistance, then the man, it hurts a lot. If you have a man working, even making, used to be real bad, even making a low wage. If he was working, then it was harder. And so, and they got more money to help raise the children if they weren't married. So it's that the government essentially kicked the husbands out of the household
Mhm.
in many cases, and look at our jails overflowing from kids that don't have a father. And
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but that's one of the main
Every
statistics.
child.
That's right.
And the need to be a father in the house.
Yeah.
And all fathers aren't what it's, don't honor God, don't honor the family and do their own things. I realize all that. But on the other hand, a great many of them do a lot better than what we normally think, because look at the difference between before and after. And then when you talk about the minimum wage and the kicking it up recently, and look how much inflation has come up with it. Nobody
Yeah.
gained out of that.
That's what I'm
No.
saying. I'm laughing at that nonsense.
Raising a minimum wage is voting to raise inflation. That's all it is.
I don't mind raising the minimum wage slowly,
Yeah.
but when you double it in a year, come on, guys. Yeah, now you're just saying,
Even raising it slowly, all you do is make the numbers bigger when you zero out your check account. I mean,
Well, another thing that gotta, like I can put in perspective, whenever I was a farmhand working for Doc Long, I was making $8 an hour being a farmhand. And anyhow, I thought that was pretty good money at the time, but I was a high schooler. All right. That was slightly above minimum wage at the time, because I think minimum wage was $7.25 an hour. Then whenever I went and worked over precast over at Pleasanton, I was making $15 an hour. I thought I was making good money. And I was risking life and limb half the time doing that job. Now they're wanting someone, this is gonna sound mean, but you want fries with that? That's where it kind of gets under my skin a little. Here I am risking my neck to make that same kind of money.
Right. And that was the difference between that and working in a coal mine. And in Illinois, where
Mhm.
most of my relatives worked in shaft mines, which is a lot worse than the strip mines. And ain't none of them any good. I mean, as far as, without risk is what I mean in that regard. And so good jobs. I'm glad but what I used to tell people, whatever the coal miners can get for going down them shafts or working and the coal and the dust and stuff, they deserve every penny of it. I'm not going to argue about what a coal miner makes, but you always heard people, oh, they make so much money. I don't care what they make. They do a job that
no one else wants to do.
Or won't do,
Exactly.
just like trade I was in, how many you gonna get up 200, 300, 400 feet in the air and walk a skinny beam so you can hang your stuff, Used to be one there in Hume, oh, you guys make too much money. Well, are you willing to go up there and do it?
cheaper.
just shoot me on the ground. That's what. No, so no, you earn every penny you get and
Yeah.
probably more than what you got.
I feel your pain. I had a laborer once tell me, you carpenters, you're overpaid and you overthink on everything, but we have something that they don't have. And there's a golden rule. If the wall blows out, you're fired.
Yeah.
Anything goes wrong, you no longer have a job.
That's with us. If you drop a load, you're done.
Yeah. So you get paid extra just to have that extra stress level.
and in my job, you got killed, we just replace you with somebody else.
Yeah, yeah,
And I'm still gonna tax you and just barely pay you a salary, keep you above minimum wage for your entire career.
yeah.
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 Then
Yeah,
you're
you put
done.
your life on the
When
line
you're
there.
done, thanks.
Mhm.
Here's a letter from the president.
Or get a leg blowed
Signature.
off,
Yeah,
you're
we'll give
done.
you a fake one.
Yeah.
Well, you have to wait a list for 4 to 6 months behind all these other guys that wait for the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, what are you gonna do?
And here again, I never thought we paid our soldiers enough when they have to, when the family back home has to go on food stamps to get by, they need to pay them more.
That's pretty horrible.
I've never complained about what they're paying the guy on the field. They're doing something I'm not doing, not qualified to do, and they need to be paid for it. They'll be taken care of if they're injured on the job. They'll have the best injured on the job insurance the world's ever seen.
Yep.
They're risking their life.
And yet you find that in other places, walking that beam up there. If it was me, I wouldn't make it. I'm just not that coordinated and I don't like heights and I'd end up on the ground with a thump. I wouldn't have lived till I got to the ground, but
I think he would have bounced.
I'd had a heart attack and died on the way. Nonetheless.
The chute didn't open, he hit the ground. He's dead, but he still stood up and was taking the stuff off like nothing happened.
Yeah.
Then he just collapsed because he's dead. Mind
Shock.
ain't caught up yet. Yeah. Head's about this big around. Just gets up to the motions.
Tell you like I tell everyone, if I'm ever up that high, I think I'm going for a fall. I'm gonna do a double backflip and a swan dive. I'm gonna land on my head. I'm going out graciously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Be like that one, can't think the name of that movie. He rode the atomic bomb down, kicked it out of the plane and that let loose and he's on it. He took his cowboy hat. Yeah. That's the way I'm going.
Might as well, it ain't all about.
Yeah. Make the best of it.
You're not gonna feel anything.
No,
I
no.
hope it's a ground penetrating.
What movie was you watching?
Oh, it's an Old War II movie. I mean, old Slim. Can't think that actor's name. I always liked him. Kind of have the horsey voice.
Okay.
I can't think of his name.
Verse, what is that, 15? I think that's what it is. The way of the fool seems right to him. Boy, there is nothing more
more
true than
true.
that. I didn't even read the last half of it, but you get the idea. There's just so much right there. The way of the fool seems right to him, and nobody can tell him any different.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
You know, that's the way it is.
You ever work with that one particular guy who's just right all the time, can't be wrong, but he seems to mess up most?
Oh, I've had quite a few of them.
Uh-huh.
I always find a job. I had one guy.
He's fixing to call him something.
Good
Job. He stopped this up, I saw that.
This one guy, he just had a charisma about him. He'd make you climb the wall. You couldn't stand him.
That's not charisma.
If you messed up, guess who you're working with for all day? Well, our BA now, I put him in there, and that lasted an hour. He come out there so mad. Oh, man, he's ready to quit. He says, I can't work with this guy. Why? What happened? This guy got to tell him what to do and stuff, and like said, mute it for a second.
Okay, back online.
All right.
I had one when I got to Germany, because you're new, they're gonna give you the scrub crew. And I figured out real quick, I'm like, oh my God, all these guys suck. But I'm like, I just pulled them together and I just motivated them. I don't care what they think. We're gonna knock this out and we're
Yeah.
gonna be happy and we're gonna smile. We're gonna be amazing at this. And then you just fast forward 10 years, I'm at Fort Lee, Virginia at a BNOC. And they give you a squad of basic trainees or AIT people to do their little thing, but you're the squad leader. You're teaching them to do that aspect of it. But you're being evaluated. And every single person says, man, nobody has passed the last phase, whatever it was, some NBC thing. And they're like, not one person has done it. And they were like, you're supposed to use hand and arm signals. And I'm like, hand and arm signals? Well, I can do it, but they don't know that. And I'm like, I'm not feeling this. I'm like, if I'm going to lose, if you're going to set us up to fail, I'm going to do it my way. And I'm just not going to do it. And we start going and they're like, you got to be quiet. And I got them together and I just muted and called them every name in the book and said, I don't care what that guy says. He don't run this squad. I do. You're going to do it my way. And if I say that if I'm going to talk, you're going to talk and you're going to pay attention. And they're all just looking at me and I'm like, I don't care. He's trying to tell me to shut up. I'm in charge of this. He is not. We would do there and just annihilate it.
Yeah.
And get through, we're all running and screaming. It's fun. Playing war games was fun. We did all that. You get to the end and we're like right here, like right where this table's at. There's these NPC signs here. We're in mock gear now. And they're like, okay, all clear. Oh no, all clear is on the other side of that fence. And that's where everybody was failing. They weren't paying attention because they're supposed to use hand and arm signals. And when they heard that instructor say all clear, oh no, I called them every name of the books. You don't you dare take that mask off. Keep walking. And I stood there and made everybody walk past that sign. And then I yelled all clear. And they all took it off. Oh, nobody died. Yeah. Oh, good times are great oldies. Right.
I'll tell you what, if you really want to find out all this talk, and if you really want to find out how good your friendship is with your buddy, pour concrete with them. So we better enemies by the end of it.
Take the whole rake away from them first.
I've seen fist fights break out on that.
The little scraper blades or whatever they call them.
Come along,
Both floats.
bull load, you know,
Yeah, I was thinking about just moving the big piles of concrete around that won't.
and that's a come along and a screed.
Yeah.
Well, we never had the right thing, so we used hose and rakes, obviously. It works, just not as good.
No.
I don't know, screed was a 2x4.
Usually, man, no, they make them out of magnesium now.
That's fancy.
They're very, I never see them that often.
I thought a fancy was when you screwed a piece of OSB to your 2x4.
No.
We've done that too.
What you do is you take a saw and you cut a perfect 45-degree angle. Slicks it off a lot better. Now that was fancy at one time. Now, like I said, you buy it. The ones you can go to the store and buy, you can get them in 16 or 10-foot link sections. They're complete magnesium. They're supposed to be lighter and they look just like a 2x4.
Really?
But magnesium.
You can use a pine 2x4 or a magnesium 2x4.
Take your pick.
Either way, it's gonna be work.
Yep. Guaranteed.
One thing I like about Proverbs, but particularly in this area of Proverbs, is that they always give either a really bad example and then a really good example, or a really good example, and a really bad example. So it tells you the right way, and then it tells you what happens if you don't do the right way. And that's why this is my favorite book of the Bible.
Well, if you don't follow the right way, just wait till we get to Ecclesiastics.
Right? Vanity, everything's vanity. But I'm going to go back to what you said with verse 4. A virtuous woman is a crown to her husband. Sounds like a really nice compliment.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Not just the opposite, because that's how it is. Going to say one, remember the opposite way. But she that maketh ashamed is rottenness in his bones. And that makes me just think of Proverbs. What's it? 4:12, 12:4, somewhere around there. Word of God goes down and appears talking to me. Listen, it's all right. 2 years later. But it's the same way. And we've all seen couples like that
Mhm.
where the man or the woman doesn't know which way it is, but when it's the woman, the man is never happy.
Oh, no.
And you know, everyone, when you're in that situation, everybody knows, you know what I'm saying? That's how it is.
Most of the people I've known in that situation, it doesn't matter which one it is. If you're around either of them, it seems their goal is to make sure everybody else ain't happy either.
Yeah.
That's 100% right. Yeah.
Especially if you mix liquor in it. Liquor may numb their pain, but it doubles yours.
Yeah.
Well, there's a reason why the old timers used to call them spirits.
Yeah,
All right.
that's true. I've locked up a lot of spirited people.
Repeatedly.
And we all know it wasn't the Holy Ghost.
I was a jailer and I had them big old brass keys.
Did it make the big loud clink sound like Hollywood portrays?
No,
Some
they
of them.
made enough noise. I could fold them up and there was about 6 of the main big keys and the keys are about that long and they're brass, they're real heavy. and you want them up on that brass ring, and you can put them together in your hand and go like this on the steel bar, and you get people's attention with it.
Yeah.
They come up there and start smiling. No, put your hand down there. Wow.
Yeah.
I never hit anybody's fingers. So that came
To-
pretty close, and they said, that would have hurt. I said, like, we lost.
Yeah.
Anyhow, let's go on. Digress.
Just for a side note, if we ever get popular on the internet with this Bible studies and stuff, we really need to think about coming up with like a bloopers reel.
What do you mean, if we get popular, not popular?
I'd say we're growing every day.
Well, that's true.
Yeah, I think we're probably known as mostly comedians in other countries, but hey.
They're like, what is this program? There's no way those Americans are that stupid.
But back to the
Yes, we
subject.
are.
Okay, let's
You was
go.
talking about the second one was bad to the bone and stuff. Easily on them there, like you said earlier, you can feel the vibes. You don't want to be around it, or I don't.
Yes,
And usually their marriage is on a rock anyway.
yes,
You don't know which way it's going to fly yet.
yeah. And not just the couple, there's always somebody like, man, everything that this guy says, or this girl says is negative. Every time I say this guy's just gonna contradict the little tiniest.
Oh,
Well, you know, the thing I do to Don all the time, that Don accuses me of,
Oh.
but you know what I'm saying? I'm sorry.
Yeah, it just, yeah, it's,
But it's just, we're joking, but you know
Yeah.
people like that. And I'm like, I told somebody earlier, and when I went to Iraq, they sent me to just laying in my bed asleep. They come in, hey, something. He's like, I don't know what's going on. This sergeant major walked in and said, I need to see a list of all your personnel. And he went right down like this, scanning the names. He stopped at your name and said, I want this guy over to this other facility because this unit is leaving and I need a manager to go over there and run that facility. And I'm like, who? And he said, some Sergeant Major Jackson. I'm like, I know that guy. Yeah, so yeah, he was my sergeant major before I got stationed here. 2 sergeant majors. I know that dude. And he's like, he went right down that list and stopped at your name. So he was 2
he was looking for somebody.
that he knew.
Yeah.
That's right. And he was in the army. He retired while we were there at 30 years. So he's been around long enough to know. Okay.
Yeah.
So this guy, they come and get me, and I don't know what's going on. They're like, hey, the Indiana National Guard is leaving. And they're like, we don't have no one to take their place. So I need a manager over there. And I'm like, okay, so I'm thinking I'm showing up being the manager. They didn't leave, they got extended. So I'm trying to go back to my unit. I'm from Fort Bragg, and they're like, nope, you gotta stay there. And I'm like, these guys are morons. I'm just saying it nicely, is that these guys were 60, 61-year-old men. I think the youngest guy was 59. National Guard, didn't have their points to retire. Right, was not old enough to collect Social Security, and they got deployed. So you can imagine how, plus they got extended.
Oh, man.
So they thought they were going home many times and didn't go home. So these were old, bitter men.
They didn't need to be there to start with.
I agree with you, but, and I'm telling you, I dogged them out. I dogged them out bad. You know what I'm saying? I'm like the worst an active duty could do to a National Guard person. And this E7 came over and kind of pulled me in his office one day and said, hey, you know what? I get it. You're high speed. You're at Fort Bragg, airborne, hoo. All you're doing is disrespecting old men. And I'm like, oh yeah, you're right.
Grumpy old man.
He's right. He's like,
Yeah.
it's just how they are. So I literally stopped saying anything bad about how they were doing anything. I mean, they had sewage coming up to the building and just everywhere. And they were just, oh, it's okay. And I'm like, no, the building needs to be shut down. You can't serve people in feces. That's how disease starts. But I'm like, just let everything just go. Let them do whatever they were going to do. And I'm like, because he was right, just leave him alone. And then it hit me one day while I was over there just watching him. I realized that if I don't change my way of thinking, I'm going to be them. Because their negativity was so, I mean, every single one of them, nobody had a decent word to say about anything. So I had to really change that whole tone of voice because it's very easy to get sucked into that negativity.
Yep.
And when you're there, it's just like, I take the opposite. Let's just embrace how bad it sucks and just get it over with. You know what I'm saying? Yeah,
Embrace
it sucks,
the
but let's just knock it out. Yeah. say that work, they're looking at me like, what? I'm like, it's bad, it's horrible, but we're here, let's just get it done. Yeah, just be done with it. And move on to the next one. Yeah, till it's time to go home eventually.
No, that's where 25 would work. Or help a little bit. An
Yeah.
anxious work,
You
an
know,
anxious heart weighs a man down, and they were very anxious. They probably were not good if there was actually a fight started out where you had to grab the guns, and I don't know what was all going on in that place, but and sometimes it doesn't always work too good, because I've tried a kind word a few times. It may cheer somebody else up, but sometimes you still get yelled at.
Yeah.
It's kind of like going into jail, if I can use them again. And you've been here for a year and a half in this county jail. And you're going to get out tomorrow. We'll let you out about 4 o'clock. What are you going to do? Well, I'm going to go party. I'll see you in the morning. No, I'm never coming back to this place. What do you mean? I said, what are you going to do tonight when you get out? I'm gonna go party. I'll see you in the morning, if not the next morning or over the weekend, but yeah, won't be long. He said, but I'm never coming back here. I hate this place. And I said, not enough.
You're gonna go party, mess up again.
And what was you doing when you got brought in here? Well, we were out partying. Okay, I rest my case.
Yeah,
You go do the same thing you've always did, you're gonna end up right back here. And you'd be surprised how many times I seen that person next morning or next shift when I came back. If it happened to be a Friday, I was working days, so I got off the weekend and come back in on Monday and say, hello, hey, what are you doing here? But, you know, and so there's a lot, you try and you try to have a good attitude. But I understand what he's talking about with the negativity, because working in the sheriff's department's a negative place to work.
yeah.
I'm gonna read verse 11 here. I'm gonna read it twice, read the way it's written here. He that tilleth the land shall be satisfied with bread, but he that followeth vain persons is void of understanding. In my old King James here, persons is actually italicized, so that means they added that word. So I'm gonna read it without that. He that tilleth his land shall be satisfied with bread, but he that followeth vain is void of understanding. And I just say vain. Yeah, not vain, following a vain person. No, you're just vain. You're following your own vain intentions.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you got it.
You
Interesting.
make it yourself, you got it. I think about, I buy my car. I had to buy my first car. Actually, I had to buy every one of my cars. I don't want to say my first one, every single one of them. But I see sometimes that there was so nothing bad about the family. They brought their 16-year-old son, brand new Mustang of that year. And I'm like, that's a little much.
Yeah.
He did end up dying in that car before he turned 17. By the way. He turned right into his own little turn part, and it ended up wrecking it, killing him. But everybody said that's way too much car. And the kid itself, everybody would say, was selfish. And I think back, he's selfish, but they're allowing him to be selfish.
Yeah.
And a lot of times that's the case. And that's this generation. You're allowing this to happen. People don't see it until it's too late.
Yeah.
Yeah, until it's too late.
The New King James reads there that, but he who follows frivolity is devoid of understanding.
Things that don't amount to anything. Same idea. It's frivolous.
I want to go to verse 13. The wicked is snared by the transgression of his lips, but the just shall come out of trouble. You ever notice whenever you start lying, you got to try and keep your story straight.
I have a hard enough time keeping the truth straight.
Tell
You
me
should work
about
in
it.
the sheriff's department for a few years.
No thanks. I don't have the temperament for
I didn't either. 2 years at a time.
it.
3 stretches, but 2 years at a time.
Tell you what, I remember my uncle was a sheriff's deputy for 25 years here in Bates County. And I think after 25 years, he was done. And I asked him, I'm like, why'd you quit? He goes, I was going to wind up in jail. I was going to wind up with the man I locked up.
So
He
be
goes,
a good thing.
he goes, I was losing the temperament. And he goes, I'm so glad you and my son didn't do it. He goes, you boys don't have the temperament to put up with the drunks and all this and that.
They took us and when they trained with the Illinois Department of Corrections with the prison staff, and we went through their training as county mounties. And so getting there, and all their trainees have never been in a jail or a prison. I've never been in a prison, but I worked in the jail for 4 or 5 years at the time. And so I go in there, and our main instructor there, he said, if anybody happens to know you and they yell at you, especially you county boys, said you're not allowed to answer. You say anything, you'll be kicked out and you'll just be sent back home. Well, mostly I knew he was talking to me because there was only 2 or 3 county boys there, and I was the one that had been around the most. And so we walked into Statesville, which is up by Joliet. And it's where they kept nice guys like the Birdman of Alcatraz and place, really nice, friendly people. And some of this, they got these roundhouse bars, and they have a guy at the rifle in the center, and they look at this. That's where the nice guys are at. Then it has more cells and stuff in there. But anyhow, we no sooner walk through the doors into the housing area of the prison. And somebody said, Rice, is that you? The guy looked at me and said, not a word. You arrogant so-and-so, you won't even answer. Nope.
I'd been like, what's up?
I'd been in a lot of hot
Yeah.
water if I'd waved or said anything. I just sat there and just kind of.
Throw them out.
I didn't recognize the voice because there was too much. I don't hear all that good, and there was too many other things going on. When we walked into that roundhouse area, they marched us in 2 columns. And there's about probably 50 of us as we walk in that day in there. And they started making so much noise, it was like standing under a huge waterfall. You couldn't hear a thing.
Yeah.
It just went deafening almost instantly because they thought we were going to come in there and do a thorough search of everything and take everything they might have accumulated and not supposed to have.
Mm-hmm. He was talk of the town.
I got in trouble for that too, but anyhow, nonetheless, while we was there, because we did do some sell things, and everybody else was finding 1 or 2 things, and I had big piles.
Verse 27, a slothful man roasteth not that which he took in hunting, but the substance of the diligent is precious, sorry.
Yeah. So
So he doesn't cook what he hunts.
yeah, you go out, and if he was to get lucky enough to kill a deer, he's not gonna go skin it. It's too much work.
The hardest college class I ever took, or high school, isn't psychology or biology or any of those. Those are easy for me to counter. I've been taught enough apologetics that they weren't hard on any of my Christian beliefs at all. The hardest one by a long shot is sociology.
Oh,
And it's mostly because of the sociologist. Those are some of the most devoid of anything good people I have ever read about. But anyway,
talking about where they get into the taboo stuff of the.
some of them do,
Right, yeah.
but they study society. That's the whole thing. Is they go and say,
Yep.
there was this mountainous tribe. I don't remember where. Doesn't matter where. The tribe was not completely hunter-gatherer, but mostly hunter-gatherer. They did do some very basic crops, but not much. There was a major accident, and almost all the adults, certainly all the adult men, I think almost all the adults, period, died in short order. To where the oldest living members of this tribe were like 13, 14 maybe. And somewhere along, the sociologists start noticing it and people come give them food. Well, as the kids grow up to be adults, and I use that term loosely, when you give them food, they gorge themselves and leave the rest to rot. They don't plant any, you bring them seeds, doesn't no good. One of the last things in the article, and this is where I really, it's a good thing I don't ever get to meet who wrote some of these things, because I'd be in jail and they probably need them to the hospital at least. Because there was a young mother, 13, 14-year-old mother now, who was a young kid when this emergency or the disaster happened, locked her toddler in one of the huts and just left. And the sociologists watched as that toddler died in that hut.
Really?
Oh, they can't interfere. You know Star Trek, the Prime Directive, where you can observe but you can't interfere? That's a sociologist.
It and me wouldn't get along.
Oh,
No.
when I said there's some of the most devoid of anything good people that I've ever read about.
I know what you're talking about. I took sociology in college.
Yeah.
And
They are devoid of all humanity and good. Not all of them, but unfortunately, the vast majority of them.
Got a cold heart.
now another thing where you say that is take a lion, take a zoo lion. Lion lives in the zoo. They feed it every day. That animal don't know how to hunt.
Mm-mm.
You can't take a lion from the zoo and put it in the jungle.
Savannah?
Yep. It won't live. It's been pampered its whole life. It's been given everything its whole life. Gorged on it. And if it tried to hunt, the tribe, or what, the tribes of the lion, whatever they call it,
Right.
wouldn't take him
Mm-mm.
because he's been pampered his whole life. He don't know how to hunt. And a lot of that you see in today's society on how that most men my age group or younger don't know how to hunt. The dang sure don't know how to cut firewood in the winter, and they don't know how to fend for themselves, more or less. Yeah, they can go work a 40-hour job and they can go buy groceries, but let's say everything collapses tomorrow. Think they can really handle it?
Nope.
They don't.
We have become such an interconnected society. There's a group of people that everybody thinks will be just fine. I'm going to tell you they're going to have a harder road than most people ever dreamed. That's the Amish.
That's a very hard road to take.
Because if things went truly bad, they would suffer less, but much more than people think, because guess what? They don't have their own steel mills anymore. They cannot make the iron.
That's true.
The iron's all industrial made. All of it.
Mhm.
Who in this country is left that knows how to start? There are a few, but it's always small quantity. Maybe they can make a knife at the end of a 3-week endeavor, hard endeavor. We
gotta have the
can't
iron
make our
ore.
own iron from scratch anymore.
Well, that
Not even the
blacksmithing-
Amish.
Blacksmithing is almost dead art.
They do have more blacksmiths than the average. They do way better for longer than almost anybody else. But I'm saying you'd be surprised how much they have also become intertied, because you can't avoid it,
No,
not completely, with the community around them.
Mhm.
It'd be challenging. And the same persecution that's gonna take the rest will take them to.
Mhm.
Yep.
well, and just kind of like we was talking about, how many, they plant a garden. What do we do in society nowadays? We don't ever save the seed and replant it next year. We always go to the store and buy more seed next year. That's another lost art, drying the seeds out, store them over winter, and then planting them again the next year.
I got a whole bunch of rhubarb if you want it. Seriously, I got bags of seeds.
And rhubarb is kind of tough to start from a seed. It comes up easy, but trying to keep it alive past that first year is kind of a trick.
I got a mulberry tree.
But anybody keep a mulberry.
The trick about them is killing
Then you
them.
kill it, cut them down, they spread out from the sides.
You grew up eating rhubarb. I grew up eating mulberries.
Well, I ate mulberry, I had my fair share too. We used to have one beside one of the
My grandmother used to yell at me. There was a big mulberry tree on the backside of the cabinet shop. Well, Dad worked there my whole childhood, so I go over and see my dad. I go and I take a handful of mulberries and just start eating them. You need to wash them. Why?
Ants are
Usually pretty wormy.
they're mostly ants in the ones I ate, so
Yeah, just extra protein.
I'd blow on them like the ants all left. Nah.
You don't realize until you throw it in a dill of water and you watch all the ants. I've been eating these straight from the vine.
Yep. Same thing with blackberries when you're out picking them in the field. We used to have lots of blackberries.
Oh, yeah, we used to have a big old blackberry patch that grew up around their side of the fence, and I'd hop over and I'd grab enough for a pie, and usually about half came home than what I started out with.
Yeah.
I'd sit there and start eating them.
I always ate them as I picked them. Strawberries are even worse.
I know.
They're not wild. You gotta grow them, but
I found some wild strawberries. They're not very big. They do grow wild.
Mhm.
I get a lot of wild onions out on this hill.
They grow everywhere.
Southern Illinois, you can't plant wheat without having tons of onions and garlic. One or the other, or both.
Hey, there's a guy on Facebook I watch. He swears up and down, if you eat garlic every day, it cures most of the problems. Sinus issues, a lot of things. Just eating raw.
Yeah, but who
garlic
wants to
will-
be near you?
Yeah,
I live alone, so it don't matter.
that's why you can't find the wife. too.
Got some more salt for that wind?
You love garlic.
So
do I.
It does more than just keep vampires away. No, I like garlic too, so.
Is that why you guys sit so far away from me?
About the only meal I don't cook with garlic is breakfast, and that's only about 50% of the time, so hey.
Proverbs is a very practical book. And it's mostly what it is just common sense.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Not that we had thought of it that way, but
Mhm.
you know, there's really no reason why we shouldn't have.
And it probably goes off what you said. We're not gonna say his nickname. But Solomon run into dudes like that and be like, this guy's, hello. Do this, so you don't have to do this. Are
Mhm.
you talking about me? Yeah, I'm talking. Foolish don't understand.
Well, see, that's kind of why I picked this book, and you guys were asking me whenever I started doing Bible studies out here, which book? I'm like, what's something that, since we do these online, what's something we can put out there that can at least bring somewhat common sense back into people again?
That's the 316.
316. Proverbs 3:16.
Well, that's a wake up call. I mean,
Yeah.
all of us has worked with them kind of people, the foolish, the unwise. I call them unwise.
Mhm.
And like I said, yeah, some of them you can help, the other ones you can't. Then they get on your nerves real quick.
Well, like in verse 21, there shall no evil happen to the just, but the wicked shall be filled with mischief.
Mhm.
You know, usually a wicked man, how should I put it? Usually whenever they're filled with one, they're filled with it all. So it ain't just anger and pride. It's usually perverse and,
Mhm.
you know, they're filled with it, filled with
Yeah.
mischief. And, you know, even it says a fool's wrath is presently known, a prudent man covers the shame. I mean, have you done something foolish that is kind of known to a lot of people? I think we can name someone. Oh, well, I'm not going to mention a name, but we all know.
That's so much foolish stuff I forgot.
Mhm.
And I posted something, I don't know what it was, something on Facebook. Yeah, I know what it was now. It's that one Facebook post where somebody asked me my stance on firearms, and I told them, well, it depends on caliber windage and such and such. And a friend of mine from the Army, for my first duty assignment, commented, and this is from the guy that showed up to the cook's meeting, no shirt, carrying a chef's knife. I vaguely remember that. I just had to really think about it. I'm like, oh yeah, I do remember that.
You don't want to remember, probably.
Well, it's just one of the, I was in Hawaii and we had a meeting and I'm like, what? I just came how I was. I was on my way to the beach. I didn't wear a shirt to the beach. I don't know why I had a chef knife. I had a butcher knife.
For the pant.
Well, I bought one. And one time I just bought one, so that could have been it. But
I
yeah,
start to
I
say
probably
that
got
could,
kicked out of that meeting, actually.
I bet.
that could be considered intimidating.
Kinds of crazy stuff we used to do. I'm gonna beat myself. I've done so much foolish stuff. I've forgotten some of it. Thank God.
Yeah.
Yeah. Every once in a while, somebody will remind me. My brother's got a story too. There, I pulled into a gas station, almost got in a fight. I'm like, he tells me that story. He's like, you don't remember that, do you? He's like, no, I don't remember that. He's like, I was there. It's like, I believe you. I just don't remember it. It never made mine.
Yeah, it was about like one of the foolish things I've ever done. I got a cousin that reminds me all the time. Anyhow, we were house sitting for another cousin of mine. He was seeing this gal out in O'Fallon, Missouri. And so I was still living at home and I was 21, but anyhow, he goes, you want to just stay the weekend at my house? That way no one comes in, breaks in or anything. I'm like, sure. So we go down there, another cousin shows up, he brings alcohol. Well, there's no cell phone service down below this hill here. We come up and try and get cell phone service. And we had this bull out in the pasture we called Houdini. There's a reason why we called it Houdini. Not a hole in the fence at all. Anyway, somehow managed to get out. 1,500-pound bull. We try and put it in inebriated. Yeah, not the smartest thing you can do.
I'd say not.
But hey, it was very entertaining for someone watching. So yeah, I get reminded of that one a lot. Remember that time you thought you was a cowboy? Yeah, I was wrong. Call me fingernails. Don't even make a hand. Anyhow.
That's why we're all saved by grace. God can look at us.
Well, you know, he got a laugh out of it. What's wrong with you? Yeah.
Just looking down, you're my favorite group of rejects.
What was I thinking? Yeah, it's more like, what were they thinking?
Yeah.
Hilarious.
Yeah, I was feeding some hogs one day up at Darrell Poindexter. I don't know if anybody here knows Darrell or not, but anyhow, he just ground the feed and put it in a little grain bin, a small, probably 500-gallon grain bin right in the middle of the hog lot. And the only way you could get into that grain bin was through a window that you closed, and it was way high off the ground. But this is way before I got hurt by a tree, and so enough sows out there, they'd let you get in the grain bin, but they knew the feed was in the grain bin. They wouldn't let you out of the grain bin. They would be right there with their head sticking in that window as soon as you opened it up. And in summertime, you had to have it open. It was just too hot in there. And so you get in that little grain bin, and them sows are squealing so much it's gonna bust your eardrums, you think. And so you had a little stick there, kind of like one of my canes, and you just start smacking them all real fast, hard enough to try to make them move, and then you get you a path cleared and everything. And I would take one bucket of feed and stack it on top of the other one just inside where they couldn't reach, where I could reach in and grab the top bucket. And what you would do is when you cleared a path, you grab a bucket, and as soon as you got about 2 steps, you start pouring that grain out, and they'd start fighting each other for it. And you just keep on booking. If you slow down, you're in trouble. about 35, 40 sows at some sort of the other gestation out there in it. Well, I'd done it several times and I got a little arrogant. I thought, this is going to be pretty easy. And so I got in there that morning and I got the feed, always stacked it. If I was going to do it 2 or 3 days in a row, I always had the buckets already full for the next time. So I get in there and I get it all, made sure it's all set up, and I beat them out of the way and I grab a bucket just like I've done 10 or 15, 20 times before. I take about 2 steps and one of them sows comes around comes an end around and another one behind it, and they block me in where I can't go. I mean, they just stopped me dead in my tracks, because when they came around, they didn't come around slow and they just came right at me because I got a bucket full of feed.
Yeah.
Well, one sow hit me behind one end, another sow hit me behind the other, another one hit the bucket, knocked the bucket full of feed about 5 feet above my head. And now the bucket's going end over end, feed is falling everywhere. And I come down, all the sows are rushing in there to try to get where that bucket is in that feed. And I don't even hit the ground. I'm riding on their backs. I'm going on the backs of 4 or 5 sows, and they're all packed together. And I'm thinking, this ain't a good place to be. So I'm yelling and screaming and kicking, but it's not doing me no good. And finally, as they start getting to where they can get them a little bit of the feed that's not poured out and thick at all, it's all scattered. I mean, they did a good job of scattering it. I finally slide in between them. Well, the bucket rolls a little bit to the other side of me, and I've got some of these 600-700 pound sows using me for a high hurdle. They're jumping over me and they're all but dragging the ground to start with. And I'm sitting there, I'm trying to, but 3 or 4 of them went over me and not a one of them touched me. I didn't get trampled at all, although it would have looked like, if you'd had this on film, this had to be one of the funniest that
You're like, this guy's.
nobody was there to see it. But anyhow, I get up and I shake myself off, and the sows aren't mean, but in that. And so I finally get my bearings a little bit, and I go back and get the other bucket of feed. Of course, there's no problem now. They've all sitting down there much. You just go over and pour it out. But talking about foolish, thinking you know how to do something, or you got it made and it's not a problem. Then all of a sudden, in a half a second, your world goes upside down and you're riding piggyback.
Literally.
Yes, quite literally. Work with pigs. I've had more than one piggyback ride. That was.
I'll tell you, me and my old horse, me and that old